My name is Samantha. I'm 36 years old, and this is the story my family tried to rewrite. My sister announced, I'm naming my daughter after Grandma, the grandma who raised me after my parents abandoned me at age 7. My sister had met her twice. I didn't object. I just named my daughter the same name and filed the birth certificate first, when Grandma's inheritance had the clause to my first great-granddaughter named after me. Christmas brunch at my parents' house was always a performance, but that year it felt like a trap. My sister Megan stood at the head of the table in a cream sweater and that too bright smile she saved for Facebook photos. Her husband filmed on his phone. My mom clinked a spoon on a glass, like we were at a wedding, instead of crowded around my dad's scratched dining table. Okay, everyone, Megan said. We have the name. My daughter sat beside me, with her legs tucked under her, quietly coloring on the little paper placemat I brought, because I'd learned the hard way that my family didn't keep kid stuff around unless it belonged to Megan's kids. Megan held up a tiny onesie. Pink letters, the name printed across the chest like it was a trophy. Evelyn, she announced. We're naming her after Grandma. The room burst into the kind of applause you give when you want to prove you're a good family in front of company. My hands went cold around my coffee mug. Not because I hated the name, because Grandma Evelyn wasn't a cute story to me. She was the reason I didn't end up in foster care. She was the woman who took me in when my parents vanished on me, like I was a bill they could ignore. And Megan had met her twice. Once at a rushed Thanksgiving, when Megan showed up late and left early because the vibe is depressing. And once at a hospital visit where she spent more time taking a selfie in the parking lot than sitting with Grandma. Megan kept talking, smiling like she'd invented sentimentality. I just feel like Grandma was such a big part of our family's legacy, she said, hand on her belly, and I want my daughter to carry that strength. My mom dabbed her eyes like she was watching a commercial. My dad nodded solemnly, like he'd been the one who did the raising. Across the table, my daughter looked up. Who's Evelyn? She whispered to me. My throat tightened. I leaned close and brushed her hair back. My grandma, I said softly. The one who loved you. The one who made you banana bread and called you her little shadow. My daughter smiled, small and private. Then Megan's gaze landed on us. She tilted her head like I'd ruined her shot. You're quiet, Samantha, she said, still smiling. You're not mad, are you? Everyone turned. I could feel my pulse in my fingers. I could also feel my daughter shrinking beside me, like she could sense the room's attention sliding toward something sharp. I wasn't mad. I was tired. I swallowed. No, I said. It's a beautiful name. Megan's smile widened, pleased with herself. Good, because I didn't want you being weird about it. And my mother laughed. Not nervously, not awkwardly. She laughed like Megan had just told a cute joke, and I was the punchline. I stared at the onesie on the table, at the printed name, and I felt something in me go very still. Because in that moment, I understood what they were doing. They weren't honoring Grandma. They were claiming her, like she was a family heirloom Megan could wear for attention, even though Grandma had been mine in the ways that actually mattered. And my daughter, sitting quietly with her crayons, didn't even get the courtesy of being included in the story. That was the hook in my ribs. That was the moment I knew Christmas brunch was just the beginning. I lived in a 2-bedroom rental on the edge of town where the streetlights buzzed and the neighbors kept to themselves. I drove a school bus. Not the cute wave at the kids and sing songs version people imagined. The real version, where you're up at 4:45 a.m., scraping frost off a windshield, memorizing which child needs the front seat because they get carsick, and learning to read the mood of 40 kids at once so you can keep them safe. I was good at it because I had practiced keeping myself safe. My daughter, Evie, was 6. She was quiet in the way that made adults underestimate her. She noticed everything. She didn't talk much in a crowd, but she'd come home and tell me exactly who was left out at recess and why. She drew little pictures and taped them to the fridge like she was building our home out of paper. Her father wasn't in the picture, not dramatically, not with court dates and screaming, just gone. Another person who decided disappearing was easier than showing up. So it was me and Evie, and somehow also my parents. Because even after they left me with Grandma at 7 years old and went through a rough time, they still felt entitled to me. They didn't call it abandonment. They called it temporary. They told the story like Grandma volunteered to raise me because she was bored. But I remembered the real version. I remembered the trash bag of clothes my mom packed, like she was sending me to summer camp. I remembered her kneeling to zip my coat and saying, "Be good for Grandma, okay? Mommy and Daddy need to figure some things out." I remembered watching their car pull away while Grandma stood behind me, one hand on my shoulder, the other hand trembling around a cigarette she didn't even light. I remembered the first night I cried into Grandma's cardigan because it smelled like laundry soap and safety. Grandma Evelyn didn't have much money, but she had routines. She had rules. She had love that didn't depend on my mood, my grades, or how convenient I was. She packed my lunches. She showed up at every school event. She stood in line at the free clinic when my ear infection got so bad I couldn't sleep. When I was 14, she picked up extra cleaning shifts because I needed braces. When I was 17, she bought me a used car with cash she'd saved in an envelope inside a teapot. When I was 25 and pregnant, she held my hand in the delivery room because no one else did. That was my grandma. That was the woman Megan met twice. But when Grandma got sick, suddenly my parents remembered they had a mother, and suddenly Megan remembered she had a grandma. They showed up late, took photos, posted captions about family first, and then vanished again once the hard part showed up. After Grandma passed, they turned grief into a tool, and I let them. I still had this stupid hope that if I kept trying, they'd finally see me as worth keeping. So I helped, mostly with money, because that was the language they understood. I paid my parents' electric bill when my dad forgot. I covered my mom's car insurance when she had a mix-up. I put Megan on my phone plan because she said she was just between jobs. I sent groceries. I sent gas money. I sent just a little help so many times as that my banking app started suggesting it like a habit. When Megan got pregnant, she said daycare costs were insane, and I started sending $200 a week. $200 every week. I told myself it was temporary. It never was. And while my money flowed out, my daughter kept getting treated like an afterthought. Megan's kids got loud, matching pajamas at every holiday. Evie got a random clearance toy in a bag with no name tag. My parents framed photos of the grandkids in their hallway. Evie was never in them. If I asked, my mom would say, "Oh, I just haven't printed any new ones." But Megan's were always printed, always framed, always right where everyone could see them. I saw all the signs. I ignored them. I kept showing up anyway. So when Megan announced she was naming her baby Evelyn, it wasn't just a name. It was a statement. It was them rewriting history while I sat there and smiled like a well-trained extra. On the drive home, Evie hummed to herself in the back seat, tracing the fog on the window with her finger. "Mama," she said, "can I see Grandma Evelyn again?" The question hit me like a pebble to the chest. Grandma was buried 2 towns over. Evie had been to the grave once, but she was little. She remembered the wind and the flowers more than the headstone. "We can visit," I said. "Soon." She nodded, satisfied. "I want to bring her a picture." Of course she did. That was Evie. She loved quietly and completely. I drove in silence, thinking about the onesie on the table, thinking about Megan's smile, thinking about my mother laughing when Megan suggested I might be weird. And then, because life has a sense of humor, I got nauseous. Not emotional nauseous, real nauseous. By the time we got home, I was sweating. I blamed the brunch food, the undercooked eggs, the weird ham. But the next morning, the nausea was still there. And the next. So I bought a pregnancy test on my way home from my bus route, the kind you hide under a bag of apples like you're doing something wrong. Evie was watching cartoons when I took it. I stared at the stick in my bathroom like it was going to decide my whole life. 2 lines. My knees went weak. I sat on the edge of the tub and pressed my hand over my mouth. Pregnant again. I wasn't dating anyone. I hadn't been careless with strangers. I'd had one brief, stupid reconnection with my ex months earlier because he'd shown up at Evie's birthday and acted like a father for exactly 2 hours. I'd fallen for it because I was tired and lonely and wanted to believe in something. And now I was pregnant. I didn't cry. I just stared at the tile floor and thought, of course. When I finally told my parents, my mom's first response wasn't, "Are you okay?" It was, "Oh no, Samantha, timing." Like I'd spilled red wine on her carpet. When I told Megan, she laughed. "You better not steal my thunder," she said. And I knew then, with absolute clarity, that this wasn't going to be a sweet cousin story. This was going to be a competition I never agreed to enter. Weeks passed. Megan became even more theatrical about the name. She bought personalized blankets. She posted Baby Evelyn on everything like she was branding a product. My parents joined in. They started calling her Our Little Evelyn even before she was born. No one asked how I was feeling. No one asked if Evie was okay about suddenly becoming the invisible grandchild again. They just assumed I'd stay in my place. Quiet, useful, grateful for scraps. Then came the last straw. It happened at my mom's family baby shower, the one she insisted on hosting for Megan because it was important to celebrate properly. I almost didn't go, but Evie begged because she thought showers meant cake. So I went. The living room was packed with women I barely knew. Megan sat on the couch like a queen, opening gifts while my mom hovered like a proud stage mom. There was a big banner on the wall. Welcome, baby Evelyn. My stomach twisted when I saw it, but I breathed through it. Evie sat beside me in a little folding chair, swinging her feet, holding a small gift bag she'd helped me make. Inside was a tiny stuffed bunny and a handmade card Evie drew herself. A baby in a blanket, a smiling stick figure mom, and the words, written carefully, "Hi, baby. I will share my toys." She was proud of it. I was proud of her. When it was time for Megan to open our gift, my mom made a big show of it. "Oh, here's Samantha's," she announced loudly, like she was throwing me a pity bone. "Let's see what she brought." Megan took the bag with 2 fingers. She pulled out the bunny. She glanced at the card. Then she laughed. Not kindly, not amused. She laughed like it was embarrassing. "Ah," she said, holding the card up for everyone to see. "Evie thinks this is her baby." A few women chuckled politely, confused. Megan looked directly at my daughter. "Sweetie, this isn't for you. This is for my Evelyn." Evie's smile faltered. "I know," she said softly. "I just made a picture." Megan shook her head like she was correcting a puppy. "No, I mean my Evelyn is going to be the real Evelyn." "Okay." The room went quiet. My hands started shaking under the table. Evie blinked, trying to process it. She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She just looked at the card like it had betrayed her. My mom swooped in, too fast, too cheerful. "Megan's right, honey. It's just... she's naming her baby after Grandma, so it's special." My daughter turned to me. "But Grandma was your grandma." My mom's smile tightened. "Well, she was everyone's grandma. Technically. Technically. Like love was paperwork." Evie's little shoulders curled inward. She slid the card back into her lap like she wanted to hide it, and in that second I saw it. The same thing I'd seen in myself as a kid. That confused, quiet shame. The feeling of being told you don't belong without anyone ever saying the words. I stood up so suddenly my chair scraped the floor. My mom's eyes flashed a warning. "Don't make a scene." Megan raised her eyebrows like she was daring me. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I reached into my purse, pulled out my phone, and opened my banking app. Because there was one thing I'd learned driving a bus full of kids. If you want to keep order, you don't argue with chaos. You remove the problem. Megan's daycare payments came from my account every Friday. Auto transfer. $200, like clockwork. My parents' utilities came out of the same account. So did my mom's car insurance. They all acted like it was normal, like I was an invisible hand that existed to keep their lights on. I looked at the screen, my thumb hovered. Then I hit stop recurring payment. The app asked, "Are you sure?" I pressed confirm. A little message popped up. Recurring transfer canceled. My hand stopped shaking. I looked at Megan and my mom and said calmly, "Evie and I are going home." My mom's smile cracked. "Samantha, not today." I repeated, "We're going home." Megan's voice went sharp. "Seriously? Over a card?" I picked up Evie's jacket and helped her into it with slow, steady hands. I leaned down, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "You didn't do anything wrong." She nodded, swallowing hard. On my way out, I paused in the doorway. Not for drama, for clarity. "I won't fund a family my child isn't part of," I said. Then I left. The first text came before I even started the car, Mom. "Don't be dramatic, come back." Then Megan, "You're embarrassing yourself." Then my dad, which was rare, "Dad, call your mother." I buckled Evie into her seat and drove home with my jaw clenched so tight my teeth hurt. After a few minutes, Evie asked the question I'd been dreading. "Am I the wrong Evelyn?" My heart broke in the quietest way. "No," I said, voice steady. "You're my Evelyn, and you're the only one who matters to me." She nodded, but I could tell it didn't fix the wound. It just covered it. That night, after Evie fell asleep, I sat at my kitchen table with a glass of water and my laptop. I didn't write a long speech. I didn't threaten. I made one clean move. I logged into the joint account my mom's name was still attached to from years ago, when I was younger and still trying to prove I belonged. I removed her access. Then I changed every auto pay that went to my parents or Megan. Utilities canceled. Insurance canceled. Daycare already canceled. Phone plan split. I paid one final month on Megan's line so she couldn't claim I'd stranded her. The confirmation emails came in like little receipts of freedom, one after another. I sat there, not smiling, not crying, just breathing like someone who'd been holding their breath for years. In the morning, I woke up to 32 missed calls. My mom left a voicemail that started with sobbing and ended with anger. Megan sent a voice note where she screamed, "You're punishing my baby." My dad texted, "We did not raise you to be this cold." I laughed once, out loud, in my empty kitchen. They didn't raise me. Grandma did. And Grandma would have called this what it was. Not revenge. A boundary. I sent one message in the family group chat. "I'm not your backup bank. My money is for my kids. Do not come to my house. Do not contact my daughter." Then I muted the thread. A week later, Megan showed up at my door anyway. It was early. I'd just gotten home from my morning route. My bus still smelled like wet mittens and cereal bars. Evie was at school. I opened the door. Megan stood there, one hand on her belly, the other holding her phone like a weapon. She didn't say hello. She said, "Fix it." I leaned against the door frame. "No." Her face twisted. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Mom is freaking out. Dad's acting like he's going to have a heart attack, and daycare called me, Samantha." "Daycare?" I nodded slowly. "Yes, that's what happens when you depend on someone you don't respect." Her voice went syrupy. "You're really going to do this to me while I'm pregnant?" "I'm pregnant too," I said. She stared at me like she'd forgotten that fact could apply to anyone but her. Then she scoffed. "You always have to make it about you." "This isn't about me," I said. "This is about my daughter being humiliated in front of strangers." "Oh my God," she rolled her eyes. "She's 6, she'll forget." "She asked me if she's the wrong Evelyn," I said. That stopped her for half a second. Then she lifted her chin. "Well, she's going to have to get used to it, because my Evelyn is the one named after Grandma, the real one, the one everyone will know." There it was. I stared at her. "Get off my porch." She stepped closer. "You can't just cut us off and act like you're some hero." "I'm not a hero," I said. "I'm a mother. If you don't turn the payments back on—" "No threats," I said. "It's done." She glared at me. "Fine. Don't come crying when you need help." I opened the door wider. "Leave." She finally stomped away. As she drove off, she leaned out the window and yelled, "Grandma would be ashamed of you." I whispered, "No, she'd be proud." And I believed it. 2 months later, I gave birth. It wasn't glamorous. No cute photos. No matching pajamas. Just fluorescent hospital lights and a nurse telling me, "You're doing great, Samantha," like she meant it. They placed my baby in my arms, a girl. I felt a deep, quiet relief I didn't know I'd been holding. I'd already decided the name, not as a stunt, not as revenge, as truth. I named my daughter Evelyn, and I filled out the birth certificate paperwork the same day. I handed the paperwork to the nurse with steady hands and watched her walk away with it. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had chosen something for my own life without asking permission. When Megan gave birth 3 weeks later, she named her baby Evelyn too. Of course she did. My mom called me furious, like I'd committed a crime. "How could you do that?" she hissed. "Now there are 2. I looked down at my newborn sleeping against my chest and said, "Grandma's name doesn't belong to Megan." My mom snapped, "Megan announced it first." I didn't raise my voice. I filed first. Silence. Then my mom said, low and bitter, "You've always been difficult." I hung up. The inheritance letter came in late spring. A thick envelope from an attorney's office I recognized from Grandma's end-of-life paperwork. I hadn't seen that letterhead in years. My hands shook just a little as I opened it. I expected something simple, a small amount, maybe a sentimental item. Grandma hadn't been rich, but she'd been careful. She'd saved. She'd owned her little house outright, and apparently she'd been smarter than all of us. The letter stated there was a specific clause in her estate plan to my first great-granddaughter named after me. My stomach dropped. I read it twice, then a third time. It wasn't about who announced first. It wasn't about who posted first. It was about legal name and order of registration. And my Evelyn, my newborn, was the first great-granddaughter officially named Evelyn, because I filed the birth certificate first, because I didn't wait, because I didn't ask. The house, the savings, the small investment account Grandma had built slowly over decades. All of it was earmarked for the first great-granddaughter named Evelyn, held in trust. My hands went cold, not with greed, with shock, with being seen. Even from the grave, Grandma had protected me, protected my child. She'd written that clause like she knew exactly who my family was, like she knew they'd try to take her story, like she knew Megan would show up late and loud and claim what she hadn't earned. I sat at my kitchen table and cried silently, one hand on the paper, the other resting on my baby's tiny back. Not because of the money, because of the message. I know who loved me, and I know who used me. When my family found out, it was chaos. I didn't tell them. The attorney did. Legally, they had to be notified. My phone lit up like a fire alarm. My mom left 8 voicemails in one day. My dad sent paragraphs about fairness and family. Megan showed up at my door again, this time with tears and rage tangled together. She stood on my porch and said, "That's mine." I blinked. "No." She shoved her phone toward my face. "I announced it first. Everyone knew. You stole it." I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt something settle in my chest. "No," I said again. "Grandma raised me. She barely knew you." Megan's face twisted. "That's not my fault." "It kind of is," I said quietly. She laughed, sharp and ugly. "So you're just going to take it? You're going to take Grandma's house and her money and leave us with nothing?" I didn't argue details. I didn't justify. I didn't defend. "I'm not your wallet," I said, "and I'm not your backup plan." Her eyes darted toward my living room like she expected to see Evie or the baby so she could perform. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. "I'm setting up a trust for my daughters," I said. "That's it?" Her voice went small, then nasty. "You think you're better than us because you drive a bus and got lucky?" I smiled a little, not happy, just incredulous. "I'm not lucky," I said. "I'm tired, and I'm done." She took a step forward, and for a second I thought she might try to push past me, but then she did what she always did when she didn't get her way. She reached for my mother. She yelled, "Mom!" like my mom was the referee. My mom wasn't there. It was just Megan on my porch, facing the consequences of a life where she treated people like props. "Leave," I said. Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed angry. "You're tearing the family apart." "No," I said. "You did that when you taught my child she doesn't belong." She stood there another moment, chest heaving, then turned and walked away. This time I didn't watch her go. I went back inside, because my daughters were there, and that was my real family. After I cut them off, my parents told everyone I'd been brainwashed and selfish. They guilt-tripped. They raged. They showed up uninvited. So I installed a cheap doorbell camera. I changed my routes. I blocked my mom. Life got quieter. Evie started calling the baby Little Evie. We visited Grandma's grave. We planted her favorite rose at home. That Christmas, we stayed in, safe, steady, and done funding anyone who erased my child. I'm on Samantha's side, because she stayed calm at the baby shower when Megan held up Evie's handmade card and told her, "My Evelyn is going to be the real Evelyn." Then Samantha stopped the $200 a week daycare transfer, removed her mother from the joint account, and sent one clear message: "I'm not your backup bank." What this story teaches is simple. When a family rewrites history and treats your child like an extra, your safest response isn't another conversation you can lose. It's a boundary you can enforce.